I do actually want to, because I don't know if we'll ever cover it necessarily, but this is from the Londonist. A less well-known tale is that of a 13-year-old girl called Anne Naylor,
In
also
the
known as the
London area.
yes, also known as the Screaming Spectre, whose cries have been heard in and around Farringdon Station. An orphan who was apprenticed to a hat maker called Sarah Metyard in the 18th century, she was poorly treated and died after being tied standing to an attic door and not fed for 4 days. To conceal her death, Metyard and her daughter hid Anne's body in a trunk, later dismembering it and trying to get rid of it, first by burning it and then by throwing the remains in an open sewer. Not long after, locals claimed to have seen the ghost of a girl and heard screams in the area.
Ooh.
The Metyards were tried and hanged for murder after the daughter confessed, and their house was demolished to make way for Farringdon Station.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I
I would haunt that too.
I did not see Roger putting that mask on while I was looking down.
What mask? Roger took his other mask off. That's his real face.
Yeah, this is my face breathing.
Okay, I'm ready to start again. You ready? Here we go. Clap.
Clap, clap, clappity clap. This is the Werewolf Radar show. Clap,
Oh,
clap,
jeez.
clappity clap.
You didn't want to go with This is the Werewolf Radar or rap?
Yeah.
Clap, clap, clappity clap. It's the Werewolf Radar rap.
That is really right there.
Get ready for spooks. Get ready for ghouls. If you're not in, you're not too cool.
Okay.
It was still good.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Werewolf Radar, the world's premier Paranormal Preparedness podcast.
Yes.
I'm Jordan Dahl. Keep it in.
I am Nate Balding.
I am Roger Norquist.
Today's episode of Werewolf Radar is brought to you by Monstruco brand Night Blooming Abyssal Tomatoes, a GMO tomato variant from which neither light nor the truth can escape. Taste the tomato, hear the tomato, obey the tomato. So like I was saying, I think GMOs are fine. And after you eat the Night Blooming tomato from Monstruco, you can talk to tomatoes, and a lot of the stuff they have to say is scary, but
it's true.
I don't think that means that we shouldn't. I think if anything, that means we should be eating them. You know, adapt, adopt, improve, mutate. Children of the future, join me.
I do think it's important that we point out that when you say GMO here, you mean genetically monstrified organism.
Monstrified organism,
yes.
Right? Which I am. Oof.
Slowly.
Also for.
Okay.
Because I think there's a lot of monsters out there, and they're not having a great time. And I think if everybody was a monster, then nobody's a monster. You know what I mean? Let's twist them up.
That's right. Frankenstein your tomatoes, everybody.
Frankenstein your tomatoes. What if the front half was a tomato and the back half was like a delicious rabbit?
Yes.
That's
what Roger's been trying for this whole time.
That sounds so good. A nice juicy rabbit.
The only thing that could make eating an apple better is
if it was faster than you
and killing it with your teeth.
Yeah.
Could you imagine a soft peach that screamed when you bit into its underbelly? Anyway, I'm talking to a therapist.
Things are going well.
Yeah. It is still Boocember. Do you guys have specifically ghostly stories for the people?
Oh, I'm wrapping up the episode with a crazy story.
Nice. I have so much ghost shit that I want to get going. I want to get shoveling this ghost shit.
All right.
Do you mind if I go first? All right.
Absolutely.
We're going first. Me and the ghosts. Over
you and the rabbit back half.
Yes, with a segment that I'm calling the proof of normal.
Nice. Good save.
That's kind of something. It's kind of something. But specifically, I kind of wanted to wrap up Boocember with I had a friend ask me, friend of the bod, Brett Hiker, asked me, what do you think, Jordan, alleged human, what do you think the most convincing evidence of the paranormal, specifically of ghosts, is to date. And that got me thinking about it. And there's a couple of things that jumped to mind. He specifically likes to bring up this this piece of footage known as the Barton entity. If any of you know about the Barton entity, if you don't, go ahead and Google it. These kids were supposedly going through this old mansion in Barton, California. Or no. Maybe that was the name of the mansion.
No,
anyway.
yeah, it's the name of the people I think that owned the mansion.
Okay. And they're running camera, might be on a phone, and they see this horrifying Nosferatu, the demon vampire looking motherfucker, swinging a lantern or something. It's very horrifying and surreal. And judging from the footage, it would have to be very tall. It kind of ducks down to get under this door to come.
I put it in the Zoom chat for all of our patrons. A little link with the Barton entity.
Freak them out. It is pretty spooky.
And it also starts off with them. They find a bunch of meat in a pile.
Yeah, they find it looks like a piece.
Where else are you gonna put your meat? Do not just so what if meat's in a pile? I don't want to hear this anti-pile of meat propaganda that comes out of your lips sometimes.
Oh, meat in a pile? You mean a sloppy Joe? Delicious.
Yes, I do mean a sloppy Joe.
They found a sloppy Joe unattended. No, they did find what appears to be kind of cut up organ pieces in almost a little ritual site. But watch the video. Warning, it haunted a young man's dreams for many years.
Yes, it did.
Personally, I have my selection, which is the footage from Destination Truth, which was a Josh Gates joint. You might remember, legendary paranormal adventurer /
he's an actual archaeologist
/ unstable tyrant from
I think technically Jordan's also an archaeologist.
That is true. I have the pay stubs, baby.
Josh Gates has a degree in archaeology.
Hey, a lot of things change hands out there on the deserts in Wyoming. Maybe I have one too, huh? Maybe I whipped up one. Anyway,
that is a place. Wyoming, when you go to CU, Colorado, or University of Colorado, if you don't get your PhD in a number of degrees, they just tell you to go up to Wyoming. You can get your degree up there.
Truth. They'll make you one. They'll print it on a strap of leather.
You can absorb a ghost dinosaur.
Yeah. But there's an episode of Destination Truth where they go to Okigahara.
Yep.
Which is the Japanese.
Is this the fucking? Oh, never mind.
Murder. Yep. Suicide.
I thought it was the. Yeah.
The suicide forest. Yes, it is the Japanese so-called suicide forest. And I will drop this link in the Zoom room for our patrons who are kicking it. You guys can watch this. This is what I think is probably the most convincing paranormal evidence of a ghost to date. It is just a strange figure in the middle of this reportedly haunted wood, that a shape that rises out of the ground and then sinks back into it in night vision camera. And it's just either that's completely fake or completely insane. But I wanted to ask you guys, what is it that you've ever come across that made you just be like, yeah, I don't know, I don't have an answer for that one?
I mean, outside of my own experiences, it also comes from Destination Truth. And it's the episode where they're in the Romanian fucking forest.
Oh, yeah, that one was
in
insane.
the magic circle.
Also
and they just
forest.
are like, okay, we're all going to take turns, and they're all having fun,
Mm-hmm.
And then they send a cameraman in, and 3 seconds into him sitting in the circle, something just throws him back 10 feet.
Yeah,
and you watch it all on camera.
Yeah, it's crazy. That was a
and
good
I was
show.
like, I guess there's forces we don't understand.
Yeah, that was a good show. I think, yeah, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't put it beyond Josh Gates to fake something, but it's hard to fake the fear in that guy's eyes after getting.
Yeah, he didn't like what happened to him, and it wasn't like, oh, it was a fun strap me to a rope and I'm gonna do a stuntman thing. It was like, oh, I was
Yeah.
thrown by something.
Oh no,
He was clearly unprepared for
yeah. Oh no, my mind and beliefs.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, Nate. Nate, do you have one
I
that jumps to mind?
I have a I think I've told this story before. One was of the Franklin Park Devil.
Oh.
This was my friend Mike and I were walking home from our pal James Burns' house after hanging out listening to Carp and drinking Black Label.
Sick.
And we went through the Franklin Park. This has got to be 2 a.m, probably something like that. Anyway, we walked past the slide structure. You know, it was like a whole jungle gym kind of thing going on.
Sure.
And behind us, we're maybe, I don't know, 10 feet past it, and something jumped to its feet, and it had big ass giant horns. It was a shadowy, horned creature.
Sure.
Leapt off of the thing and just came charging at us.
Whoa!
And we ran like hell. I can't believe I've never told this before. I must have.
Dude,
And we ran.
I haven't remembered it.
Yeah, we ran into the woods and we jumped into this like little dirt pit and just hid there for, I don't know, 30 minutes probably before
Good
we decided
God.
that it was okay to move again.
That's insane.
So the Franklin Park Devil in Bellingham, Washington.
Wow, dude, that's wild.
was-
What year did that happen?
Would have been like 98 probably.
Crazy.
99?
1798.
Well,
1798, we were attacked by the Franklin Park Devil.
K.
While we were
Hammond-
helping John Jameson recover one of his barrels of whiskey.
I started to look online for
Kay Hammond found or knows of the ghost of Carmel, Maine. And it's this old dude who films all sorts of stuff in his house. And like you honestly see like absurd shadow figures standing
Really?
and moving and
interesting.
walk
There-
out of a window, like almost leap out of a window. Check it out.
There are also incredible videos of what appear to be like soldiers moving back and forward in Gettysburg, like under the tree line. You can see like these legs, and the people recording it. If anybody can find the link for that, we should drop that for the Zoom room, because that one's incredible too. But long story short, I went to the internet. I was looking for one of my favorite, lazy Sunday. Hey, what does BuzzFeed say is the best, most convincing ghost stories of all time? And I couldn't really find anything outside of the photographs, some famous photographs that some of you guys probably all know. But also, as you know, talking about photographs, it's not really good podcasting. There are some insane photos here, though. Have you seen? I did want to touch very briefly. Have you seen like the ghost, the Boot Hill ghost, which is the guy dressed as a cowboy, and in the ground behind him, you see like the half of a body of a man in a black hat?
No.
Okay, so it was taken at a cemetery, and this
Yeah,
guy's
yeah.
dressed in it's called the Boot Hill Ghost. It's taken in 1996, and it was an old Western cemetery, and this guy's dressed as kind of a cowboy, and in the background, you can see basically the upper torso of a man coming out of the ground, just there. There's also Goddard Squadron, they call the picture, which is the picture of Freddie Jackson, some of you might have heard of, which is a picture of a squadron of pilots from the First World War. And behind one of the pilots, there is a face very famously peeking around. And everybody who saw the picture in the squadron said that's Freddie Jackson,
Yep.
who died
Yep, I know that one. That one's crazy. There's a lot of like
many
big
years prior. Yeah.
big group photos who are like, oh, well, that's all of the class, including Freddie Jackson, who died.
Yeah. There's one that they call Grandpa's Ghost, which is a scary picture of a kind of a bald, almost gray, what we would know as a gray looking, like he's like bald, no eyebrows looking guy looking over the head of a grandmother, and everybody's like, yeah, that's Grandpa. There's the face in the back seat
Yeah, that's
of the car.
unmistakably Grandpa.
There's the faces coming out of the waves, which are a very wacky picture that you might have seen bouncing around. But I dropped the link for our Zoom folks. We'll drop it on the show notes, and you guys can check this out. But more than that, I found from livescience.com 10 ghost stories that will haunt you for life. And these are historical ghost stories going back at least 3,200 years.
Shut up. Well, let's get haunted for life.
So this is paranormal going back. And, we should mention that as far as scientific evidence for ghosts goes, there is none. There are ideas that EMFs affect the human brain in ways that we don't understand. There are ideas involving ultrasound and quartz stones collecting images somehow and replaying them. There's lots of theories, but there is no proof of ghosts is what it comes down to. But there is my favorite piece of evidence, which is, you guessed it, friggin' word of mouth. People are telling stories, and they have been telling stories for about 3,000 years that we know of, at least writing them down. So this is from livescience.com.
Good work. Thank you.
And they say, from a spooky 3,002-year-old tale written on broken pottery pieces to amateur YouTube videos of ghost chases, frightening tales of apparitions, demons, and goblins have been documented since ancient times. And continue to fascinate people today. Although these paranormal events...
Grecian urns that have Scooby-Doo cartoons on
them. Good time.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo's an ancient Sumerian legend.
Let me whisk you away
ghost hunting
to 1200 BC. This is an ancient Egyptian ghost story. In 1915, Egyptologist Gaston Maspero published a translation of an ancient Egyptian ghost story, possibly set in Luxor, ancient Thebes, that was discovered on 4 pieces of pottery. In the story, a ghost of a mummified man tells a high priest of the god Amun about his current condition.
I grew, and I did not see the rays of the sun. I did not breathe the air, but darkness was before me every day, and no one came to find me,
the ghost says. The ghost seems to complain of some accident that has happened to himself or to his tomb, but I cannot make out what is the subject of his dissatisfaction. The ancient Egyptians strongly believed in life after death and created a series of spells called the Book of the Dead, starring Brendan Fraser.
It was
I like
good.
the sequel,
it was one
but...
of his last roles before the incidences.
R.I.P. Ghost of Tu Po. Tu Po was an ancient Chinese ghost with revenge on his mind. Before he died, Tu Po served as a minister to Chinese Emperor Xuan, 827 to 783 BC. The two had a disagreement, and Xuan had Tu Po killed in about 786 BC, despite warnings that Tu Po would come back to life and haunt him. Tu Po did a lot more than haunt the emperor. 3 years later, in 783 BC, Xuan was killed with an arrow fired by an apparition resembling Tu Po in front of an assembly of feudal lords.
Shut the fuck up,
wrote Chinese philosopher Mo.
He won't.
That is that is crazy that the ghost could actually do that. I'm not ready for ghosts that could just weld a bow against me.
This is from the complete...
I don't need ghosts to have weaponry.
This is from the Complete Book of Ghosts, translation by Yi Pao Mei. And yeah, this is apparently a king got shot by a ghost in front of a party he was having.
Like, obviously, I mean, not obviously, but this is a great alibi for assassinating a king by the noble class. They're just all like, oh, it was the ghost.
Yeah, you shoot him and then you drop it and you're like, did you guys see that? Yeah. That ghost. Where did it go?
The ghost.
It was the ghost of John Hinckley.
Yeah.
I guess all of us nobles now run China.
The ghost of John Hinckley. Okay. Next up, chained man in ancient Athens. Roman senator Pliny the Younger who died in AD 113, told a ghost tale so haunting that it survives to this day.
Also, he was only 3 years old.
Yeah. There was at Athens a large and roomy house which had a bad name, so that no one could live there. In the dead of the night, a noise resembling the clashing of iron was frequently heard, which, if you listened more attentively, sounded like the rattling of chains.
Weird.
Disturbances that led to the appearance of a specter, form of an old man of extremely emaciated and squalid appearance, with a long beard and disheveled hair, rattling chains on his hands and feet. Needless to say, the house was abandoned and had to be rented out for a cheap price. When a philosopher named Athenodorus heard the story, he reportedly rented the house and confronted the ghost. The ghost appeared and rattled around before vanishing. Athenodorus, there it is. Athenodorus calmly
that's a bad name
marked.
for a house.
You're supposed to call it a home, stupid.
What's a good name for a house?
The Athenodorus?
Black.
Come on.
No. What's a good name for a house? What would you call a house?
Phi Beta Kappa.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, fair enough.
Bly
We're-
Manor.
We're talking Greeks, right? So-
Sure. All right. Okay.
Athens.
All right. Athenodorus calmly marked the spot where the ghost vanished and, in the morning, ordered that spot to be dug up, the story goes. This was accordingly done, and the skeleton of a man in chains was found there. For the body, having lain a considerable time in the ground, was putrefied and moldered away from the chains. After being given a proper burial, the ghost departed, and the house was haunted no more. According
Did
to
we
Pliny's
just
tale.
hear about the first ghost hunt and house cleansing?
Yeah, buddy.
That's
19
crazy.
Much.
Uh,
I
First
also
of
heard
all, I
about
don't
a guy's-
think I have the constitution to do what he did. To just be like,
113
oh,
AD.
you got this weird specter thingy bobber? All right, I'll see
Show
what
it to
it
me.
is. I'll confront it.
Bring me it. Next up, the boarded up bathhouse. The writer Plutarch, who lived from AD 45 to 120, tells a ghost story that has a much sadder ending than the one from Athens. In the city of Caronia. In the city of Caronia, Greece, there was a boy named Damon who attracted the attention of a Roman military commander who apparently loved him, historical records suggest. Damon refused the commander's advances, enraging him. Knowing that he would be killed if he did nothing, Damon got a group of friends together, ambushed the Roman commander, killing them, and several other Roman soldiers, killing them. The city council of Caronia condemned Damon and his friends to death. After that proclamation, Damon, who had not been killed, had the council members killed. Again, I presume with another boy attack.
Yeah, this is just a badass gang of boys.
Get him, boys. Damon and his
they've
friends.
murdered a lot of people at this point.
Damon and his friends then took to the countryside, plundering it. Eventually, the townspeople allowed Damon to return, but he was killed shortly after in a local bathhouse. And because
they
for a
had
long while, gone.
They had to let him return, because he was just rampaging across the countryside.
Yeah, or what? Yeah, you better let me return, or I'll kill you.
I will literally kill you and take everything you have. And they
I'll
said,
have my boys pull you to pieces.
By the way, I'm also in my head. These boys are like 12.
Sure, me too. And this is in quotes. And because for a long while thereafter, certain phantoms appeared in the place, and groans were heard there. As our fathers tell us, the door of the vapor bath was walled up, and to this present time, the neighbors think it the source of alarming sights and sounds. Plutarch wrote.
You just can't
So-
board up the ghost hole. You got to deal with it eventually.
Now listen, I just
Come
I
on,
don't
you're going to talk about a bathhouse full of groans as boarding up the ghost hole?
Well, listen, I don't know if you, I don't know if that's cause to board up a bathhouse specifically. There's groans coming from in there, and you board it up. You're gonna have some people who are like, "We were in here, we need out." But that is a good way. If the place isn't haunted, that's a good way to haunt it up, I suppose.
Yeah, this is how This is how Stonewall started.
This is the stone wall they were talking about. Anyway, next up, the Tower of London. Britain's numerous castles are hotspots for ghost stories. The 900-year-old Tower of London is said to contain numerous ghosts, and the Queen's House is considered by Tower officials to be one of the most haunted locations. Among the ghosts in the Queen's House is that of Arabella Stuart, cousin of King James I. Arabella was made the mistake of marrying against the king's wishes and was sent to the Tower as punishment. According to the ghost story, she's still serving her time. In another spooky tale, a phantom bear is said to haunt one section of the Tower of London.
Yes, I
Called
want
them-
to see the bear.
Called the Martin
I know this
Tower.
story. It's the pale bear, right?
A guard who saw the phantom bear is said to have dropped dead from shock. The Tower of London served as a menagerie for part of its history and held a variety of animals, including bears. It doesn't say anything about a pale bear, but that must be the one.
I mean, how many ghost bears could there be going around
There
the Tower
can't
of
be
London?
that many.
Sure. Next up is Aokigahara Woods. We've mentioned it.
Yep. Go on
At-
with this one.
Aokigahara, located at the foot of Mount Fuji in Japan, the corpses of dozens of suicide victims have been found over the past 2 decades. The forest has become a popular place for troubled Japanese citizens to end their lives. Today, there are signs in the forest urging people not to end their lives and asking them to seek help. Given the number of suicides that have occurred in the forest, ghost stories abound, including several alleged encounters with the apparitions of those who have died there, which you can see on YouTube. I will say, be careful. Sometimes you find some creepy stuff looking for the Aokigahara videos on YouTube. People like legit find bodies there, and it's weird.
It's all because of a book that was written in the 50s.
Yes, the Black Sea of Trees, I believe is what it was called.
Yeah, and
I'm gonna-
what a weird thing to be so popular in as an author, but then
Sure.
also being the #1 cause of suicide in the Japanese forest area.
I did want to jump ahead. There's a couple of other things that are mentioned here. The exorcism of Roland Doe in 1949, a boy from Cottage City, Maryland, who is referred to as Roland Doe, underwent an exorcism performed by a group of Roman Catholic priests, accounts suggest. There are conflicting reports as to Roland's alleged powers. Some stories claim that Roland had supernatural strength, could speak in ancient languages that the boy had no knowledge of, and
Sure.
could apparently move or levitate the mattress he was lying on.
Nice.
Since 1949, investigators have called into question many of these claims, providing evidence to suggest that Roland was a psychologically troubled boy who hated to attend school and that his abilities were far from supernatural.
Then how did the bed move?
Wait,
In
So
any
the-
event, the exorcism took place. The events inspired a 1971 novel called The Exorcist.
Which then inspired a little movie called 101 Dalmatians.
There it is. The brown lady of Raynham Hall. That's mainly just a famous photograph, and you can check that out on yourself. Check out the brown lady. It's a famous photograph. Amityville. We all know the story. Did something happen? Did it not? There are some interesting photos out of Amityville. Regardless of what you think happened there. The one that I do want to mention finally is what has become known as the CCTV ghost, the Hampton Court Palace CCTV ghost, and you can Google search that. But it's a crazy video that seems to show a figure in a heavy robe burst out of the back doors of this a fire door that's been there for centuries, and it's nobody knows what it was. There was nobody back there. The doors definitely opened. Here, I'll read the thing. Hampton Court Palace in Surrey, England has a photogenic ghost of its own. In 2003, a CCTV camera caught an image of a skeletal figure clad in centuries-old clothes closing a sturdy fire door that had flung open. The ghost, nicknamed Skeletor,
Because it looks so much like Skeletor.
Sure. attracted a great deal of media attention. It wasn't just security staff who thought they were seeing things, a visitor wrote in that palace's visitor book for the day, that she too had seen a ghost in that area. Skeletor is not the only ghost inhabitant of Hampton Court Palace. Catherine Howard, one of Henry VIII's wives, was imprisoned there and was supposedly dragged to her room screaming all the way. The area that she haunts is called the Screaming Gallery.
Ah, the Screaming Gallery.
So there you have it. There are some ghost stories, some famous ghost stories throughout history. Are they proof? I don't know. You know, you tell me. There are some very interesting videos out there. Moreover, there are some very interesting EVPs. If you want to go down a very spooky hole, type EVPs into YouTube and just listen to some of that shit. Some of it gets very, very I don't know, distinct. It's also, you got to be careful though, because like, you know, pareidolia is a motherfucker. It'll get you.
Yeah, it works audibly too. It's just not visual.
Absolutely. Especially when it comes to people who like this shit and like want to believe, you know, we want to hear the patterns. But we must remain vigilant. Anyway, that does it for this portion of my segment that I named proof.
Yeah, almost.
Who you gonna prove? Ghost provers.
Proving makes me feel good.
Nice, thanks.
Yep, I gotcha.
Thank you for backing me up on that.
I'm
Clearly,
here. I always got your falsetto, man.
dropped ball. Thank you. Boy, what a segment. What a segment that I remembered the name of.
I can't remember the name of my segment either after I do it. Nate, would you like to hold the speaking orb next?
Yeah, I would like to take us